I had never been to Miami before. It was August of 2021. I've only heard of it through TV shows, movies, Don Johnson in Miami Vice. I didn't even watch Miami Vice, but that's where I heard of it from. Had never been, and I didn't really know anybody owned or daily drove supercars. So we go to Miami for a friend's birthday party. We stay in a pretty nice hotel that was a little bit above our means, but when you're splitting it with 12 people, it's a little bit more manageable. And my boss at the time, I was selling cars. He was there just on business, unrelated, but he was staying in the Brickell area, as were we. So he had called me one night and he had said, "Do you want to come out to dinner?" So I was like, "Yeah, absolutely," thinking nothing of it. At about 6:30, he calls me down to the lobby, and I'm staying at this grandiose hotel that I have no business at. And I walk downstairs. The valet opens the door for me, and there's a bright orange Lamborghini Urus, which I had never been in a Lamborghini. I had never driven one. So Miami by Will Smith is playing, typical to being in the heart of Brickell. And I hop in the back seat because there was a driver and the passenger. We're driving through South Beach, which if you haven't been to South Beach, it's filled with supercars. It's filled with good energy. A lot of people just having a good time hanging out. Cars are driving by. And for me, who has never experienced that part of the world, it was insane because I'm just used to where I grew up. I always thought to have a supercar, you had to be an A-list celebrity or just from like a billionaire family. Because where I grew up, the coolest car was a 2014 Audi RS5 that my neighbor had. I didn't know these cars existed. Once you get down to Miami, it doesn't take long to realize that renting a Lamborghini Urus, even though it is a bright, obnoxious color, does not mean that you stand out amongst the crowd, because anyone and everyone either rents or owns a supercar in Miami, because obviously the culture in Miami is nice penthouse apartments and nice cars and watches and belts. And if you check off all those things, you're a pretty successful Miami resident. We drive down South Beach, we go to dinner, we have a great dinner, we wrap that up, and we're just driving back to the hotel because I had plans later that evening, again in this bright orange Lamborghini Urus that I'm sitting in the back of like a kid in a candy store. And we pull up to a light, and we're a little bit over the crosswalk, and we see somebody walking by. He was definitely a little bit intoxicated, so he was visibly frustrated that we were parked a little bit over the line, intercepting his walk across the street. And we were blasting music, having a good time, so we might have been a little bit obnoxious, but he walks across the street, kind of gives us one of these, like "I'm walking over here," walks across the street. And my boss at the time, who was obviously in the driver's seat, kind of gives him one of these back, like, "What are you so upset about? We're just a little bit over the crosswalk." And it was at that moment where he punched a basketball-sized dent into the hood of a $250,000 Lamborghini Urus, which had only been a year or two old at the time, because the Lamborghini Urus is a fairly new SUV. He wasn't a big guy, not an intimidating guy, but I guess he did. It was a Florida man situation. You could probably make a headline: "Florida man dents Lamborghini Urus hood out of anger that the car was slightly in front of the crosswalk line." He was 18, 19 years old, so definitely scared, definitely understood that he made an incredibly wrong decision. He starts sprinting. He runs into a strip mall. We drive very quickly down the side street to try and get him because we knew that there was a good amount of damage on a car that we did not own. We park on the side of the road. The passenger gets out, runs after him. My boss is telling me, "Chris, call the cops, call the cops." So I get out of the Lamborghini Urus, and to backtrack a little bit, I was there for a friend's birthday party. So I get out of this bright orange Lamborghini Urus, and my best friend Steven is standing on the street corner like a scene in Superbad where McLovin's getting out of the cop car, smoking the cigarette. And that's how I felt when I got out of that car. And my buddy Steven was like, "Chris?" And I was like, "Steven? Did you just see that?" And he was like, "What just happened?" And we're freaking out here on the corner. I'm about to dial 911. We get the 18, 19-year-old kid to come over and kind of at least just discuss what happened. My boss told me not to call the cops at that point because we realized that he was a little bit younger. It was a mistake that was stupid, but we weren't going to give him a rap sheet for it. He Comes over to the car, we're assessing the damage. He, I think, didn't understand that punching the hood of this car would cause as much damage as it did. We exchange information. Well, he gives us his information, driver's license, our credit card, because we didn't know how much it was going to cost, but again, it's a $250,000 super SUV. We grab his information. The next day, the rental car gets brought back to the rental car company and the damage is assessed about a week later at around $1,800 just to pull a dent out of a car. But there are 2 lines that run down the hood of a Lamborghini Urus, and of course, he punched right on the line, so it requires a little bit more than some typical PDR. I didn't even know you can rent cars this caliber because this was before I had anything to do with the automotive scene. I was in La La Land. I'm sitting in the back of this car and I'm just excited to be in Miami. I couldn't wait to tell everybody back at home my Miami trip, and as frustrating as it was for somebody to vandalize your rental car, I hate to admit it, but I was super excited because I knew I was gonna have an incredible story to tell. For me, it was worth it because I got the full experience in the heart of Miami. I didn't have to spend $1, neither did my boss, thankfully, but it was a bad situation that was good for some.
Once again, I want to thank Bridgestone for their support of VINwiki this month, for their support of the channel, and all they're going to do with us throughout the year. We're going to test some tires, use some tires, and have them talk about what the tire business is like from their perspective and all the great things that Bridgestone is doing as a brand, including becoming an OEM offering on cars like Porsches, Lamborghinis, and things like that in the past couple of years. And so I know that you're going to love that, but I know that you'll also love their tires. And so whether you go to Tire Rack and order a set of Bridgestones for your car, or also check them out at the link in the description below, check out the Potenza range of tires for road cars, supercars, sports cars, hypercars. They are amazing, and I know they'll treat you well. Have a great day.